Hi everybody, welcome back to The Limit Breakdown, where we break down the latest in TV, movies, and everything going on in entertainment. I'm your host, Migs.
I'm Sid.
And today we're going to be breaking down Monkeyman, the new action movie coming from Sid's home of India. But our too long didn't watch review of Monkeyman is 3.5 hearts.
Now, this movie had great fight choreography, really well done. The soundtrack was on point, and the story itself was actually pretty well paced.
However, I felt like it was very light on the actual plot. There were a lot of scenes that just quite frankly didn't make any sense, and the protagonist was very one-dimensional.
Because of these reasons, we gave it a 3.5 hearts. Now stick around after our intro for a deep dive, spoiler-filled review of Monkeyman.
Alright, welcome back everyone, and today we are reviewing The Monkeyman. Alright, Sid, tell me what your initial thoughts were on this bad boy.
Alright, so I'm going to tell you what I thought going into this movie.
Okay.
And then exiting my seat out of this movie.
Okay.
I didn't really go to the movie theater, that's why I said I can't leave the theater. Anyways, alright, so I was super excited about this movie. Number one fact, this was written, directed, and starred Dev Patel, who is famously known for Slumdog Millionaire, as well as he was Zuko in... Actually, I'm not even going to mention that movie. Just ignore that movie. He was Slumdog Millionaire.
Okay.
He's done a lot of fantastic stuff. So I was very excited. Very talented actor, and now directorial debut. The movie basically was marketed as the Indian John Wick.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, I think it delivered. To a certain degree.
Okay.
So going in, very excited. I think what the movie was trying to do, it sort of achieved, like I said. The fight sequences were pretty solid, but it was kind of lackluster. Let me break it down. Beginning of the movie, I understand. To certain movies, you have a plot, you have character development, things like that, trying to build you up to the main part. I think that build-up was good for what it was, but it was too slow, and some parts didn't make sense. And then when it got to the main fight scenes, then the movie kicked off.
Yeah.
The last 30 minutes of the movie, I think, were a lot more entertaining than the whole beginning.
Yeah.
Which most times some movies do this, but this was a little too much. So that's why I gave it a little bit lower rating. If the fight sequences or some of the plot was a little bit thicker and more meaningful, then maybe I would have given it a higher rating and be hooked more.
Yeah.
But because of that slowness, I gave it a little bit lower. But overall, still thought it was pretty good. What about you?
So like you said, this movie was marketed as the Indian John Wick. I didn't really see that just because there was more knife play than gunplay. But I definitely got that martial arts action movie flick. It had a lot of those like early 90s action martial art movie influences, and you can tell. The choreography was absolutely on point.
The kitchen scene, I think, was probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. That kitchen scene is kind of what triggered the climax of the film. Yeah. So that was absolutely fantastic. They took a little bit too long, like you said, to set it up in the beginning, and we were talking a little bit about this as we were trying to decide what kind of rating we wanted to give this. But the main character that wasn't really given any character progression. He had one note. He was very one-dimensional. And I mean, you can be forgiven for that in this type of movie because I mean, essentially it's a revenge film. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So you can understand that, but I think they went out of their way to try to get the audience to empathize with him when they didn't really need to. when you showed the early beginning of his village being burned down. That's all you need.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So like you said, a lot of the early beginning scenes setting everything up kind of didn't really make sense. His involvement with the friend that kind of got him inside the deep parts of the club, like it was funny and it was comic relief, but then after he pretty much burned him, like
he's like, all right, cool, bye.
You only see him again when he shows up to that fight, but then he like wrecked this dude's entire life.
And he get his getaway auto.
Oh dude, I feel like when we went to India, what I was expecting the tuk-tuks to drive was like what he was driving this tuk-tuk.
That tuk-tuk took a beating, and it was like drifting. I have never in my entire life, as many times gone to India, seen a tuk-tuk drift.
Look, it must have had a turbo. It must have had a Hemi.
Those wheels were fat. Those wheels were fat.
It was the only tuk-tuk in India with a Hemi.
Fair. Another thing that I wanted to mention, which we mentioned earlier, was that soundtrack was so good. Every like transition scene that had a banger of a song. While the fights were going on, the songs were pretty good. Even the slow emotional part where he's trying to connect with that girl, or when he thinks of his mother a lot, the songs that they played to trigger that emotion. I would say that was such a great quality, and nowadays in a lot of movies you don't get that as much anymore because they'll just play a generic song.
Yeah.
But I think they put a lot of time and effort into just what each song will represent, because I think that soundtrack is like 20 songs deep.
Yeah.
Because they sampled small parts of different songs, which I thought was fantastic.
No, absolutely, and like you said, it really fit like the different scenes as they were going. Even something as simple as when he was training in the temple, the little drum,
the tabla,
and that was pretty cool. It was like you said, it was kind of convenient that the guy happened to be there with the drums.
Happens to be there. He's like, oh, I understand what they were trying to say. Great sequence, but conveniently just be there. That brings me to a great transition for useless scenes. Another reason that I gave it a little bit lower score. So one scene that comes to mind particularly is when he's trying to get into that you made a reference to John Wick. Yeah, literally. When he's trying to get into that underground dealer,
the arms dealer,
dealer. And he orders a specific type of item, and then he gives the kid the money. The kid gives it to somebody else, who gives it to somebody else, who gets passed down to like 70 million
and
people.
Then they give it back to the kid.
And then they give it back to another kid, who, by the way, the main character is the kid, who's his name is Kid in the show, in the movie, is standing right there, and he goes literally 5 feet and gives it to somebody else. That was 5 feet. The guy before could have just gone and given it.
Hey, look, they were just trying to keep people employed, man.
I get the whole passing around thing. I was cool with that, but that last little, here you go, man. You could just extend your hand out. It's right there.
It was like earlier too, when with the whole shoplifting scene, when they stole the lady's purse, when the dude with the wheelchair bumps into the lady sitting down, he steals her purse, then he hands it off to one person, who hands it off to somebody else, and hands it off to somebody else. It was just. It was a lot.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. Oh my god, I was like, that makes some parts of it cool. The whole community is involved, but that last ending, a little like that made no sense to me.
Speaking of community, I had a little bit of a problem with how easily everybody accepted that they were just gonna murder.
Yeah, everyone was just like, there's eat, sleep, and murder every day.
Yeah,
they did not care.
Yeah, so just, and I get what they were going for. He was supposed to be like some type of warrior for the people, right? I think that without, knowing too much of like Indian history, but there's like the whole common man versus the elite kind of dynamic thing. And but like it's kind of like what the argument that people have against Batman, and that hold on. Hear me out on this, right? A rich guy that says he wants to clean up Gotham and save the common folks goes and beats up a bunch of poor people to stop crime, and it's kind of like he's supposed to be fighting against the elite, but like all of the people that he was fighting primarily were the people that were like he literally started out working for the bad guys too.
Yeah. Well, he's trying to get him, but yes.
But yeah, so like all of those people that he murdered, like, you know, they probably didn't live in mansions. They probably lived in
huts.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to Migs' original point that he had already mentioned twice, is that the main character, Kid, was very one-dimensional. It seemed just like revenge, which is fine. Whatever. But
yeah, that's kind of it on it. This is a little bit of a shorter review than we normally do because there really wasn't a whole lot.
This movie didn't have
too
much depth. I will say I liked how they tried to have the dynamics of the politics. They included a little bit of the LGBTQ community with the temple. And then they turned out to be like warriors of their time, coincidentally.
Like warrior monks, right?
Yeah, and then who came at the end and started destroying with their guys, which I thought it was hilarious, but pretty cool actually. That court, that room, whatever that room they were in, that fight scene was pretty insane. The massive free for all.
I will say that was a pretty cool setup because when they come out of the elevator and
as soon as they open the elevator, they're all wearing the black suits.
Yeah.
I was watching with my cousin, right? The first thing we said was, do you remember the scene in Kill Bill?
Yes, the crazy 88. That's exactly what I thought too. That's exactly what I thought. And then the warrior princess monks come out.
Oh my god.
But what are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts. If you're watching it just for the pure entertainment of fighting, it's a good movie. Don't expect too deep into it. Don't expect the plot. It had a plot somewhere in there, but literally the last 30 minutes of the movie made the movie what it is. And for debuting, Dev Patel, I think, did a pretty good job.
I will say, given what I expected this movie to be, for me it delivered. This is a popcorn flick, an action movie, a turn off your brain and just enjoy it for what it is. One of the things that I think makes movies like John Wick great is that they don't take themselves seriously at the same time. And I think this movie could have benefited from taking itself a little less seriously and leaning more into the genre that it's in. But I mean, regardless, you know, I think it's important for new directors and new people to try new projects, and I thought this was, if nothing else, just based on the choreography, the action alone is worth the watch.
100%. So that was our thoughts and opinions on Dev Patel's Monkeyman. Let us know what you thought in the comments below.
And as always, don't forget to hit that like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us out with the algorithm. Let us know if you agreed with us. Let us know what your thoughts on this film was. And we will catch you next time with some more content.